Good evening. Welcome to the talks, also known as the large umbrella, to take shelter from the rain tonight. Thanks for being with us. Tonight we're getting smart on fashion with Sarah Hermez, and it's a real treat to have Sarah with us today. She's the founder of Creative Space Beirut, which is a very unique incubation, educational forum out of Beirut that has launched some very talented designers that Sarah will tell us a little bit more about. And I do also want to note that everything Sarah ever does apparently has rain associated with it, so we can thank her for this glorious London-like weather that we have here tonight. So thank you very much, everyone, for sharing this lovely rainy evening with us. We might spend all night here together if it doesn't stop, but we have a lot to talk about when it comes to getting smart on fashion and fashion education and why it's so important to broaden our minds. Sarah will share with us more. Thank you.
Hi guys. So my name is Sarah Hermez, and I'm the founder of Creative Space Beirut. Creative Space Beirut is a non-profit free school for fashion design. We search for students across all of Lebanon who are very talented, very passionate, very dedicated, but they can't afford an education. So for 3 years, we give them an education completely for free. Today, the talk is called Getting Started on Fashion. No, Getting Smart on Fashion. And to those of you who dream about being fashion designers, my question to you is, if you're looking for smart ways to pursue this career, the question is, what are these smart ways? And today, I'm going to answer this question through my own experience, through the challenges that I've faced, the risks that I've taken in my life, through my own educational background in fashion design, the way that I connected the dots in my life that allowed me to help me launch this free school in fashion design. So I'm going to go back a little bit. I was born and raised in Kuwait. At the time, when I was younger, I never really knew that it was a possibility to be a fashion designer. Nobody around me was pursuing fashion design as a career, not even in the arts. And our schools in general at that time, they weren't very empowering, and they didn't really push you towards the arts. It was mostly business or doctors or engineers, but not so much in the arts. So when I was younger, I used to cut my cousin's clothes, and she would go to university and she would wear them, and people would ask her, where did you get your clothes from? And so she got me a book on how to be a fashion designer, and that really motivated me and pushed me into starting to think about maybe that is an option to be a fashion designer. So by the time I graduated high school, I applied to university, and I decided to go to New York. And in the new school, I did a double major. I studied fashion design at Parsons, but I also studied media and culture studies at Eugene Lang, the new school for liberal arts. During Parsons, I was really able to understand my creative potential. The program itself was very, very, very intense. The life of a fashion designer is not a glamorous life. It's super, super hard work. It's project after project after project. It's all-nighters. You really have to persevere and push through. We started off as 150 people in the program. We ended up as 80 people in the program. And when I first went in, I had no skill in fashion design. I had to learn fashion illustration. I had to learn pattern making. I had to learn draping. I had no background in it at all, as opposed to other people that were there. So in the beginning, I sort of lagged, but through hard work, I started to catch up. My third year, I met Caroline Simonelli. She's in this picture over here. She's essentially my mentor, and she actually co-founded Creative Space Beirut with me. She's 80 years old. She's originally Lebanese. Her parents left during World War I, and she had never been to Lebanon. So I used to always tell her that I'm going to find a way to bring you to Lebanon, and 10 years later, here she is. But upon starting, Caroline was very, very special to me because the way that she taught her classes was full of energy. Parsons was a very, very, very competitive school. At the end of the year, 10 people were chosen in the fashion show, 30 people were chosen in the static show, and only 5 people were chosen to exhibit at Saks Fifth Avenue. So it was super, super competitive, and all the students were really it was a sort of sometimes it can be a sort of negative sort of competition. But Caroline found a way with the energy and the way that she taught her courses. She found a way to really allow us to become friends, to collaborate together and to work together and really help each other out. And she just had that power in her. And for me personally, she really showed me the journey of becoming a fashion designer, like how to sort of connect my heart or my hands to my heart, you know, to really create and work with passion. And so being in Parsons, it really allowed me to reach my creative potential. But at the same time, when I was in Eugene Lang, I was studying media and culture studies, and I did a few study abroad programs. I went to India, I went to Dharamsala, and I lived with a Tibetan refugee community, and I studied Tibetan politics. I also studied Buddhism, and during that time, after that, I also went to Cambodia, and I studied Cambodian politics, and I worked in an orphanage with this sort of experiential learning program. So essentially, these experiences in India and Cambodia changed the way that I viewed the world and the work that I wanted to do. And I felt like if I was going to give myself anywhere, I wanted to move to Lebanon, and I wanted to find a way to merge both of my passions, which is essentially creativity and social justice. And so that's how the birth of Creative Space started. I moved to Lebanon, I started working over there, but then when I was sitting and talking to Caroline about everything I wanted to do, about how I want to merge my two passions, she looked at me all of a sudden and she said, you know, why don't you start a school? And as soon as she said, why don't you start a school, there was this sort of light bulb moment where I realized that's exactly what I wanted to do. I was 24 years old. I had just graduated fashion design. I had no idea how to start a school, but I just knew at that moment that that's exactly what I needed to do. And so as soon as I said that I was going to do it, Caroline told me that she would come to Lebanon and help me do it if I was able to do it. And then I was sitting with a friend of mine, her name is Bessie, and she was working with Donna Karan at the time, and she said, if you start this school, I'm going to donate $100,000 worth of Donna Karan fabrics to Creative Space. So I said, okay, now I have the school, I have the teacher, I need to make this happen. I have the fabrics, I need to make this happen. So I went to Lebanon. I didn't know anybody in Lebanon. I had never lived in Lebanon before. I grew up in Kuwait. So I had family over there, I had some friends, but I literally had to go knocking on people's doors. I had to go to NGOs, I had to go to refugee camps, I went to orphanages, I went to different areas within Lebanon where I would talk about what I'm gonna do. What gave me credibility was Caroline. I mean, being a 24, naive girl knocking on people's door, people were like, is she for real? But as soon as I said that I have, you know, Caroline on my side, this person with 50 years of fashion design of experience on her back, people looked at me and said, oh, okay, maybe. And the fact that I wanted all these people from different backgrounds across Lebanon to come together in Beirut, that was another big question mark, because as you know, Lebanon is a very sectarian country. And within these areas, a lot of people were like, okay, I love your idea, but I don't want my kid to come to go to Beirut. And so that was also a challenge as well. Another challenge was finances. At first, I wanted to collaborate with an NGO and the NGO to launch this program. But then the NGO started to change my objectives. They started to say, well, actually, the only way for us to do this is for the capacity to be bigger. So the impact has to be larger. So you have to do like a 2-week project where you're teaching 300 women how to sew. There's a start, there's an end, there's a large number. And that's not what I wanted to do. What I wanted to do was something that's long-term. It's something that really follows and builds relationships with the students. And I decided that I needed to find a way to do this on my own. So, luckily, I had the support of my family, and they said that they would support the first pilot project, but after that, I have to figure it out on my own. And it happened, you know. Eventually, we were able to find 5 students from different backgrounds across all of Lebanon, and for 3 months, we started the pilot project. Caroline came from New York. The students came every day from Monday to Friday for 7 hours. And the first class that we ever had, we gave some of the students fabrics, and I'll never forget, because me and Caroline were just looking at them, and we saw that just the sort of experience that was happening in that moment, it was just so beautiful to see, because there was so much raw talent in the room, and we knew at that moment that there is a lot of talent, but there is just no platform for people who don't have the money. And today fashion education is so expensive. And it's pretty much exclusive to those people with the right network and with the money. And if you look at it throughout history, I mean, most fashion designers started working in fashion houses and their talent, and they start to grow within the fashion houses. But today, because fashion has become institutionalized, it's no longer about your talent, it's about how much money you have. And that's something that we're trying to break, because we believe that we believe in equal opportunity and fostering talent. So, so the pilot project started, and we kept going for 3 months. The students were able to produce around 30 dresses. We had an exhibition, and we sold all of their dresses, and we raised around $17,000, and we used that $17,000 as the seed money to basically launch the school and start. Today, sorry, I'm a little bit nervous, I don't know why. But today, we've become a 3-year program. It's been 5 years, so it's really been a lot of trial and error. Like I said, I started this whole thing at the age of 24. The whole thing has been a challenge. But today we've become a 3-year program, and we just graduated our first class in December. And we have one of our graduating students here, actually. But so basically what we've become is the students come every day still from Monday to Friday. We collaborate with different teachers who teach different courses. They volunteer their time from people, local and international teachers. Caroline still comes for 3 months every year, and she teaches as well. The space has become like a safe space for our students. All of the students have keys. They come and they go. They have to come to class, but after that, a lot of them come, they stay there, they stay after class. They become like a family, and the beautiful thing is that they come from backgrounds that are so different from each other. They would have never met each other if it wasn't for this space. And what happens is when you put people together that have a common passion and a common understanding, they become like family, and they have become like family. And the sort of energy that was created in Caroline's class when I was there is created here as well. There is this really beautiful understanding of helping each other. Third-year students teach first-year students. We have our third-year students now teaching illustration class. Our curriculum is very diverse. Because we're not accredited, and because essentially our credibility is going to be based on our reputation through our productions, through our fashion shows, through the successes of our students. And the reason why we're not accredited is because in order to be a university, your students have to graduate high school. And we have students that are super talented that never graduated high school. And we believe it's unfair to cut that whole population out just because they didn't have an education. So an example of how our curriculum functions is that each year we build our curriculum based on the circumstances. So wait, let me go through this a bit, because I think it's frozen. Oh, there you go. So that's Caroline and I and some of the students working at the space. So here is an example of one of our students' work. This is his work, this is his first collection. No, his second collection of his second year at Creative Space. His name is Ahmed Amir. So the way that we work as well is it's a little bit different than universities, in the sense that in university what happens is, what they've done is they've taken fashion design and they've compartmentalized it so that each technique is a class. So here's the illustration class, here's the sewing class, here's the construction class, here's the pattern making class, here's the draping class. But actually, as a designer, you're never really doing things individually. You're doing things all together. You're sketching, you're draping, you're pattern making, but it's this sort of very organic, holistic experience when you're designing. But the way that schools are sort of dividing these technical skills is that the creative process, you end up missing out on the creative process. Whereas what we're trying to do is we're trying to embed the technical skills into the creative process. So second-year students create their own, like when I was in Parsons, the first time I created my own collection was in third year. Our first-year students are creating collections, our second-year students are creating collections, our third-year students are creating collections. So this is an example of a second-year student and his collection. So they do everything from starting from mood boards to inspiration, to sketching the designs, to execution, to finishing, to textile design. It's from start to finish, it's 100% them. And it's very important, I believe, as a fashion designer, to be very, very aware of the process, because if you're going to start your own brand later on, you have to know how clothes are made so that you can know when something works and when something doesn't work. And also, the idea in terms of fashion design school, and even when I was in Parsons, it's this sort of idea of teaching the students how to see, how to be able to do a fitting, how to be able to do a sample, how to be able to do a fitting, how to be able to look at it, to look at the fitting, and to be able to change the piece according to how it fits the body. And in order it's an exercise. It's an exercise that you do while you are in school. So this is an example of some of the sketches of Ahmed Amir's portfolio, some of his work during class. So this collection over here is by Hazem Kais. And this is a very interesting experience that happened to him, is that we were approached by a store called, it's a concept store in Kuwait called the Number 4. And they really loved the idea of creative space, and they really supported the idea of free education and fostering talent. So they told us that each student would create a collection for the store. And then after that, they exhibited the whole thing. They sold it. 100% of the profits went back to creative space. And then they selected one designer, which was Hazem Kais, who they believed suited their store the most. And he won this grant. He had to create a collection for the store. So basically, he went from design process, inspiration, sketching, execution, creating samples, doing fittings, and then taking orders. Once he took the orders, he went into production, and then he sold at the store. So as a second-year student, he actually won the whole award as a first-year student. So as a second-year student, he actually had the whole experience from the beginning, design to execution to production, as a second-year student. Today, he will understand, if he decides to go and start his own brand, he'll understand how the fashion industry works, because he literally had an experience working with a boutique and working in production. It's really important, because once you go out into the fashion world, if you decide to start a brand without having any experience, you end up having to learn through trial and error and through your own mistakes. But the problem is you have all your clients and you have all your viewers watching you. When you're in school, every mistake that you do is a learning experience, and it's not at the expense of your brand. So that's just the difference. So here's parts of Hazem's collection. The beautiful thing also about Creative Space is that because we're a nonprofit, we've built a community of people around us. Photographers, filmmakers, fashion designers, textile designers, people who just want to be a part of our community because they really believe in what we're doing. And so yeah. These are images from his collection that are now being sold at 4. So these are images from our fashion show this year. As I was saying, it was our first graduating class, and it was our first big fashion show. It was super exciting and super emotional because it was our first graduating class, so it was really nice to watch. But also the whole aspect of the production of a fashion show was really awesome because the students were so involved from start to finish. So not only do they have experience working with photographers, creating their own collections, creating storyboards and color stories, and doing samples and creating collections, they also have experience setting up and producing fashion shows because they're so intertwined in the process. So the educational system is really well balanced, and they have experience in every aspect of being a fashion designer. So okay, that's the team. There's Caroline in the middle. This is an example of one of the students that graduated. Her name is Aline Sukunyan. And actually, she just graduated, and we've hired her to teach at Creative Space. We've also hired her to design for our in-house brand. So we've developed an in-house brand called CSB Ready to Wear. The idea is, and this is my way of calling it being smart on fashion, is that how do we want to sustain this school? Because our vision for this school is much more than the fashion program. We want to take the fashion program, sustain the fashion program, and start to build other programs in design so that we can have a school for creative studies and not just a school for fashion design, so that it expands and the design world, and more people start to be included in the whole aspect of the design world. So Aline is sort of an example of how we're creating this ecosystem. So we educate the student, and then we hire the student and provide them with work opportunities. But then they also serve as a teacher to the school. So yeah, so that's one example. Fatma is another student. Oh, that's her work. And she's currently, sorry, I'm really bad with projecting and clicking. Okay, so Fatma is, she's now currently working for Sara's Bags. And so that's a great opportunity for her. That's over here, her walking out of the fashion show. So this is a little bit of her work. This is Hiba. Hiba is one of our students that had been working on her portfolio from the start of Creative Space. And this year she applied to university in Milan, and through the portfolio that she built in Creative Space, she got accepted, and we found her a sponsor. And she's currently in Milan for the first time in her life, pursuing a degree in fashion design. And we're really excited for her because she's amazing and she deserves it. She's a very hard worker. So this is aspects of her collection. This is Roni's collection. So the interesting thing about Roni is that when he graduated at the fashion show, if you heard about Starch, Starch is a platform that launches the careers of young designers. And they actually showed during Fashion Forward yesterday. And so basically, Roni, who's a graduate student, we sponsored him, and Starch accepted him. So he just launched his first collection yesterday. I'm actually wearing one of his pieces, and he's actually sitting right there. So an example of this as well is in terms of the ecosystem, and also beyond the ecosystem, it's the fact that Roni graduated from Creative Space, and in 1 month, he had 1 month to create a collection, design a collection, do the fittings, do the patterns, do the samples, and have a collection. He had 1 month to do it because the whole thing got delayed, long story short. And he did it. And he had the help and support of everybody at Creative Space. They all worked together to help him in some of his patterns when he needed it. He was able to produce the collection, and he was able to do all of this with the confidence of understanding his own identity, because that's what happens when you do work and when you do go to school, is that what you start to understand is you start to understand yourself as a designer, you start to understand your identity as a designer. So when you enter the fashion world, you enter the fashion world with confidence. And that's what he did yesterday. So yeah, I guess I would like to say in terms of, there's one other thing, is in terms of a good question is how Creative Space is being funded. So I was mentioning earlier that we started a brand called CSB Ready to Wear. The idea with this brand is 100% of the profits go back to support the school. So the idea is to build this brand, sell it in boutiques across the world, and to be really able to sustain the school. We've only launched the brand in Lebanon so far, but just alone in Lebanon, for the past year, we were able to raise $50,000 in profit just by selling the ready-to-wear. And so for us, this is our goal. It's our main focus right now, because if we can build this brand where 100% of the profits go back to the school, then we can really build a school. Our vision is to have a building where the bottom floor would be the boutique, and then we would have the school, and then you can have the production house, and then you can have other departments, and all of it to be this sort of very collaborative atmosphere. I've also launched the brand alongside two of my friends, George Ruhana and Tracy Musi. It's called Second Street. And right now, it's a unisex shirt brand, and 30% of the profits go back to the school. It also serves as a platform for us to hire students after they graduate, and even while they're still in school. So we hire them to do patterns and things like that. So it's a very dynamic sort of setup that took me a long time to figure out. A long time. It's been 5 years. And it's somehow, there's this sort of ecosystem, as I said, that we are creating. And the reason why I'm sharing this story for you to you guys is to basically tell you that, like, this is how I connected the dots. This is how I was able to merge my two passions, which is creativity and social justice. Through my experiences and through my surroundings, I was able, I mean, I can say at the time I was 24, so I was somehow naive. I thought I could change the world. And I think being naive allows you to sort of, take risks, because you're not afraid. And when you do take risks, you're going to fail many times. But I think this whole idea of getting smart on fashion it's not about being perfect. It's not about doing everything perfectly. It's about making mistakes, owning up to your mistakes, It's about perseverance, and it's about continuing and believing in what you're doing. So if you want to start your own brand, it's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take a lot of trial and error, and it's going to take a lot of courage. And I think that's what being smart is. Thank you. Also, there's a short video that they're going to play just before, here it is. This is last year, before questions. This is from our collaboration with 4.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you you talk about having courage, and thank you for having the courage to set up what you did in Beirut and for inspiring us all. And for discovering people like Roni, who I think will probably be getting a lot of orders just based on your model here. Beautiful work coming out of Beirut. And it reminds us how we have this beautiful hub of creativity, and even under the most difficult situations, beautiful design is coming out of there when people come together as a community and support one another, which is what we're hoping to do here with our platforms as well in Dubai. I know there'll probably be a lot of questions for you, so we're going to let you take as many questions as you can from people. I imagine a lot of people will wonder how they can be a part of your program, so we'll let you handle that.
Okay.
Thanks, Sarah.
There's a question? Yeah? Yeah. Do you? Yeah. Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. Sorry, good evening. It's still opportunity. My time from Africa. My name is FFWD. I'm a star blogger and a PR consultant from Nigeria. I heard you spoke about how some of your students created design pieces and you were able to sell these pieces and raised a substantial amount of money. I mean, $50,000.
No, not $50,000. I wish it was $50,000. It was $17,000.
$17,000. $17,000. That is a lot.
It is a lot.
So what I wanted to ask is, while they were creating the designs, it involved a lot of creativity, and I like to think that the creative people they don't really get involved with the business side of fashion. They create their pieces. So what structures did you guys put on ground to be able to get involved with the finishing, the sampling, and quality control, and then pricing these pieces? Were they very expensive, knowing that there were a lot of buyers out there who would come out to say, I cannot be paying $200 for this dress that I do not know who the designer is, and I would rather be paying $200 for a Zara. I would rather be paying $200 for a Forever 21, but for a design who nobody knows about. How were you guys able to convince people to get to buy these pieces?
It's a good question. Of course, it takes time as well. I agree with you 100% that, especially in Lebanon, I don't know how it is in Dubai, but in terms of supporting local designers, it's something that's starting to grow within the community. But a lot of the time within the elite, people would prefer to spend their money on Hermez or, I don't know, Armani than they would on local designers. So it is this sort of taboo that we're trying to break. How are we able to do that? And at a starting point, in terms of how we were able to follow their finishing and their work, is that Caroline and I were there every single day and still are. So now we've taught our students how to have beautiful finishing. We've taught our students how to be aware of the type of finishings within their clothing. So they are very aware of that, and they are very serious about that. But it took a lot of time, it took a lot of teaching, and it took a lot of... when people look through the clothing, they look through it and they see the beautiful quality. And at the end of the day, when a piece is beautiful, and it's very important that it's also exclusive and it's one of a kind, people love exclusivity. So if they know that, like, okay, this is one of a kind and nobody else has it, then they're happy to pay for it. I mean, maybe not as much as they would pay for a more high-end brand that's known, but after 5 years, we were, especially in Lebanon, were able to sort of form this clientele. During our fashion show, around 500 people came, and we almost sold out from all the students' designs. So it takes time to build your credibility. But if your work is good, if your finishing is good, and through time and reputation, people start to talk about it, and it takes time. But if your work is strong, people will realize that, I believe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, this is more of a personal question.
Tell me.
So when you went to India and Cambodia, did you go there envisioning that it's going to impact your fashion life? Or did you just connect the dots like you were saying? And also, I want to see how that affected your leadership style now that you're in your business.
So those are intense questions.
Yeah.
In terms of going to India and Cambodia, I don't think that I expected it to change my path or shift my path that in this way. Obviously, before I went, it's not something I could ever imagine because a lot of it I was unaware of, right? So when I was there and when I was experiencing everything, a lot of questions I've never asked myself before started to arise. And one of them being, what work do I want to spend my life doing? How do I want to give and how do I want to receive? So these were very important questions that I was facing every day on a daily basis being there. And as soon as I left, it sort of, when I went back to New York, I was all of a sudden faced with, I went to it like a deep depression. And I was just not really understanding how to reconnect with myself or what I wanted to do. So like you said, it was a sort of connecting the dots. It took time. But I knew after that experience that the way I viewed the world had changed. And there was no way that I could just go back to being a fashion designer and just making clothes without a meaning behind it, So that sort of shifted. And for your, what was your second question? Oh, my leadership. So I was the type of person that was always, like, when I found a mentor or when I found a leader, I was very okay with being a follower, as long as the person that I was following was somebody I respected and believed in, right? I never imagined that all of a sudden the roles would reverse and I would have to be a leader. My own leadership qualities are I mean, I had to learn. And when I first started, it was not easy. I was taken for granted. I was stepped on. I had to discover how to establish a sort of distance or understanding that I am leading this project, this idea. But slowly I started to understand what it meant to be a leader. And a lot of the times, being a leader is stepping back and allowing other people to lead. And the really beautiful thing is at the end of the day, all of the students, they've really taken ownership of creative space. When they talk about creative space, they talk about their space. And when they feel it's their space, then they're going to love the space, they're going to take care of the space, and they're going to give back to the space. They teach each other and they collaborate because that's what they want to do. You know what I mean? Not because I tell them to do that. And that's the idea at the end of the day. I don't want to have to go around dictating how people should be. I want them to understand that this is what they want and that this space is as much theirs as it is mine. Yeah.
Hi, I love what you're doing.
Thank you.
It's fantastic. I don't know how you merge those two together, but you have. The social justice and the fashion. My question is that there's so much creativity out there, and it's really hard to put your finger on what is good and what isn't. And you don't want to squash that development either. So I'm thinking, how do you balance that esoteric part, of like creative fashion and usable fashion or commercialized fashion? Because it has to go back into the collective, right? And there's different ways of going back into the collective. There could be somebody that designs and people buy it like this, right? Because it's obvious, I could wear it, it's very wearable. And then you have the haute couture or the more, out there that's less wearable, but still genius. How do you teach that?
The thing that had to happen automatically was, because we're an NGO and because we're nonprofit, we had to find ways to sell the clothing. So automatically, the curriculum is based on wearable design. They have to be able to sell it because we have to generate income. So that's a huge part of what we do. We push for creativity, but from the start, from first year, the students are learning how to sell. They work with private clients as well, and a percentage goes back to the school, a percentage goes to them. So from the very start, they're learning what it means to create wearable pieces, but the process and the journey to get to those wearable pieces can be super artistic, So that's the watering down of inspiration, and it's the watering down of something that's maybe very artistic or over-the-top creative, and making it something that's wearable, that's in fact much harder than just creating art pieces. Being able to sell is a challenge. And Roni is able to do that. Roni has this sort of talent where he understands what women want, and at the same time, and from the start, his stuff always sold really quickly because he was able to, be on trend, but at the same time be a little bit ahead. And so that makes you a little bit avant-garde, but still, women want it. And I think that it's a tricky way to do it, but because from the start we were based on that, the students are built that way. They're built on thinking about the business end without really realizing it. Yeah. Questions? More questions?
First of all, I think what you're doing is just inspirational,
Thank you.
and congratulations. And I hope that you just go from strength to strength. You said that you're based in Beirut and Lebanon. So are you only going to be taking talent from Lebanon, or are you going to look at the region too?
In general, it's not that we take only talent, for example, that are Lebanese, is that we take talent, people that reside in Lebanon. So it's a really wide range of people that reside in Lebanon, from Lebanese to Syrian refugees, to Palestinian refugees, to migrant workers, to essentially anyone who lives in Lebanon. The reason why it's stuck to people that live in Lebanon is because right now we can't afford to fly people over and pay for their dorms, you know? And also we only accept 3 to 5 people a year. So the selection process is very, very intense. And we want to make sure that we're selecting the most talent, the people with the most talent and the most dedication and certain types of personalities at the same time. Once we sustain this program, I can start to think about how to take this model, and maybe not myself, but give this model elsewhere, you know? You never know. I hope so. Yeah, right? Yeah.
My second question is, do you look forward to collaborating with other people from different regions? I mean, I'm from Africa. I'm all about collaboration and having to merge and create a synergy between Beirut, where you come, the UAE, it's my first time here, the UAE and Africa. I mean, getting these pieces to be worn by Africans, from the celebrities to the regular high-end buyers who are looking for wearing pieces, or the everyday people who are looking for wearing pieces that are exclusive with the designs, but are very affordable when it comes to buying.
I mean, yes, we're always interested in collaboration. We function off collaboration. So, yeah, my answer is yes. Any other questions? I saw you with a question. Did you change your mind? Okay. All right. Oh, more? Yes, Yasmin?
For everybody's benefit, can we order if we live outside of Lebanon?
Yeah,
or
good
website?
question. For the ready-to-wear, it's not our online shop. We're part of an online shop called lebitlik.com. It has a lot of Lebanese designers as well, so we do sell there. We're hoping to start an online shop. That's a whole other level of organization, so hopefully that will happen soon. Thanks. Huh? All right, we'll talk about it. Yeah?
Hi.
Hi.
I wanted to ask something. Running a brand and selling clothes and all that is one thing, and it has a set of responsibilities, other than the production, promoting it and getting into stores and the costing and the pricing and all that. I have a brand, so I know what goes into, it's a full-time thing.
Yeah.
And then running a school and the responsibility of teaching people and seeing that through is also a big thing. How do you do it all at the same time? How's it done? I understand that the students see the process of the production and all that, but then after, the deal with the stores and promoting it and the events and all that, how do you make it work together?
It's a very good question. I might seem to be alive right now, but I'm almost dead. No, honestly, it's a lot of work. I work a lot, and it is also about finding that balance. So there's the school, there's CSB Ready to Wear, which is 100% goes back to the school, and then there's Second Street. So it's 2 brands in a school, in fact. And so yeah, that's why we're also hiring students to design for the brands. It's at the end of the day, we could be doing so much more. What's in our way is essentially funding. So that's a constant struggle being an NGO. But also at the same time, a wonderful team behind me that are super hardworking, super dedicated. They work as much as I do out of their own, like, the greatness of their hearts. I mean, we're all in this because we believe in it, and so because there is that belief, it makes you want to spend all night working, you know. It's not easy, and sometimes, like, sometimes I just want to, like, collapse, but then other times, you know, when we have such productions like our fashion shows, when we have our students graduating, and I see them giving back to the school, when things are, like, really working and the dots are all connecting, it's very gratifying, you know. It's gratifying in a way that's it's just beautiful to see. So that's very encouraging and empowering. And like I said, I have a very strong and passionate team behind me that, you know, most of the time I'm a mess and they're the strength, you know. Most of the time I'm like twirling my hair and staring at the ceiling, trying to, like, keep myself together. And they're all running around, you know, making everything happen. So yeah, it's a good team. Okay, thank you guys.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for being here. I think Sarah will probably stick around. She's with us here tomorrow as well. So any of you that want to ask her any more questions, enjoy the rest of the evening and the shows.